you're probably wondering what this is all about, but let me first introduce myself. I'm Frederik, and together with Dries and Freek, I run PHP Antwerp, a user group in Antwerp where we try to promote open source and meetups and community stuff. Now, today we traveled all the way to London, as you probably noticed, to attend phpUK. What we're trying to do with these videos is bring the people who create packages and open source software, but also people who create blog posts and write books and organize conferences, and bring them a bit more in the spotlight. So people can actually put a face on the code they use and the books they read. So that's what we're going to do today, of course. There's a social planned. I'm a bit early, in a few hours. So, but we're going to head there, obviously. But first I'm going to explore London a bit, together with my friend Marcel, the guy who created Botman. Great guy, check out his packages. And after that we'll meet up in the social, so yeah, we'll see you there. We're now at the end of the social. We had obviously a very good time. Next to me is...
Did you enjoy the talk as well?
I was too late for the talk, so kinda embarrassed about that, because apparently it was a great talk. Next to me is Dirk. He is a guy you might know from Xdebush. You probably know, because you probably use it all the time.
If not, you should really.
So give him a shout out and
applause if you must.
He really did a lot of stuff for the community.
We have some woo-woo girls here to the
left. If you want,
making noises.
We can show the Google girls. That's
not the Google girls, the woo-woo girls. They're shouting woo.
That's Freek and that's Marcel on the right. So
I'm Marcel. I know Freek.
Back to the show at hand.
Yeah, back to cutting that bit out in the editing. I don't know how to use camera.
Great. So, you're looking forward to the conference tomorrow?
Yes, I am.
So, you're speaking?
Yeah, I'm speaking on Friday.
So, what are you going to talk about?
I'm going to give an introduction to PHP extensions, which is a bit of an interesting talk that I've given before, only about 6 weeks ago here at the user group. They said, oh, you want to practice this? Sure, whatever.
That's how
but I mean, this time I was done in about 5 minutes because I just had to change the date. On the presentation, yeah.
Okay.
So that's on Friday.
Good. Other talks you're looking forward to?
It's interesting, there's an XDebug talk tomorrow, not getting by myself. So I'm not quite sure where I actually should go, because I don't want to make the speaker a little bit too uncomfortable.
Are you going to sit on the front row?
No, I certainly won't sit on the front row, because I'm not that mean. But I might go anyway. I planned the day to be at that talk, and then go find something to do with one of my friends here before coming back for the social.
You're at least going to ask a few questions, right? Like some stingy questions?
I don't think I will. So we're now at the conference. We just had our first keynote talk.
Hi.
Ran into Freek. Saw him yesterday at the social.
Yep, I'm pretty social.
He is. So how are you enjoying the conference moment?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's my third time here. Second time as a speaker. It's I don't know if you can see it good on the video, but it's a beautiful venue. There are some awesome speakers on the schedule. We just saw the keynote of Jenny, who underlined the importance of user groups, which is we think is important, right?
She even gave a shout out to PHP Antwerp, so
yeah, that's cool.
We're famous now.
So Have you been enjoying yourself here?
Definitely, definitely. So, what are the tracks you're going to go to? Because we have this printed on here.
Awesome.
So you'll be talking in a few hours, I guess?
I'm talking in a few hours, so after the lunch, so which is great. So I don't have to think about it now. I can just relax and see some talks.
Everybody a bit drowsy after the lunch, so
Yeah.
they're docile.
Yeah. You're gonna sleep in my talk. No. No, probably the WS one.
Okay.
About yeah, what you'll miss on WS and how to find it. So because if you log into HWS, it's like massive services just screaming at you, and
But I think the talk is about services that aren't even on there. So I can't even imagine things that aren't featured at AWS. But
because they have everything, right?
Yeah, I assume so. Yeah.
Okay, we'll see. We'll see.
I'm personally going to the GraphQL talk. I have a lot of opinions on API development, and GraphQL is one of the big opinions I have. So maybe you can convince me about using it, and I hope so.
Yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be cool. Yeah. So I can recommend really anybody to going to a conference, and certainly this conference is really a very nice one in the heart of London. So definitely. Okay, cool. We're done for now. Bye.
I'm Wissa. I'm maintaining the Batman PHP library, which you can use if you want to develop chatbots, because it makes it super easy.
Is it only Laravel based, or is it?
No, it's framework agnostic. It comes shipped with something that's called Botnet Studio, which is a Laravel integration, but you can use it on every framework that you want.
Cool. You mentioned before that you just released a video course where you trained people into using it? So
yeah, exactly. I launched it a week ago. It's at buildachatbot.io, and it's a video course where I'm teaching everything that I've learned over the last year about maintaining the project and developing chatbots.
Cool. So how are you enjoying the conference?
It's been great so far. We only saw 2 talks yet, but it's a great conference. The venue is awesome. And I'm very much looking forward to the next speakers.
So, any specific talk you're looking forward to, besides your own, of course?
Yeah, my own. And the keynote from Gary.
Gary's talks are always amazing. His previous one, like the open source for profit and benefit and stuff, was one of my favorite talks ever.
I have to admit I haven't seen it.
Online?
On the bucket list.
I'll put a link on it here or something like there. So, okay. All right. Marcel, thank you so much for the interview, and I'll see you later at the Mario Kart competition where I will totally crush you.
We'll see.
Next to me now is Michael. He just did his great talk about GraphQL. I have to admit a bit that I'm kind of now somewhat of a convert. Like, it's really hard to admit, but there it goes. So Michael is active in like a million things. For example, the fake. He's on the Symfony security board, I think.
I'm the security lead for the Symfony framework.
Yeah, that's some kind of it's pretty impressive. So tell us a bit about the fig. So how did you get involved
Yeah, so the PHP fig, for those of you who don't necessarily know what it is, it's essentially a group of people and projects from across the PHP ecosystem coming together to try and promote shared aims and improve the PHP ecosystem as a whole. Now, the way that you probably know that we do this is through PSRs, or PHP standards recommendations, like PSR4, PSR2 for like coding stuff. But we have a whole series of others. So we've got PSR11 very recently, containers, and we've also got PSR15 for middlewares, building on PSR7 for HTTP messages. We also do a lot more than that. So, for example, kind of also relating like to my security role at Symfony, we we share knowledge about security issues, and we work together on what a good reporting process should look like, for example, or security advisories publication. So I initially started as a secretary, and was responsible for sort of day-to-day administration. Now there are 3 people that hold that role, and they get elected the new one every 8 months. And then we also have the core committee. So the core committee, which I'm now on, is a body of 12 people who are elected by the community who are involved with the FIG and member projects in order to kind of like represent their interests, and we vote on various different specifications and direction of the FIG. So a really important thing for me is like being able to hear from you, the community, about what you think the FIG is doing, could be doing, but also trying to help reach out to you as to to help you, inform you about what the point of the FIG is and how we can help you as a developer, and sort of work together as a PHP ecosystem.
And how can people reach out to you? Like, how can you most effectively contact the FIG? Like, I want to try to impose a new standard or talk about a standard. How can I reach out to you?
So there are 3 ways. You could either tweet personally at me if you want to like DM or something and we'll have a private conversation first. That's absolutely fine. If you're happy to take the plunge, then you can also hop on the mailing list. So on the PHP FIG mailing list, you can send an email with your ideas, thoughts about a PSR, see if there's like interest there from other projects and core committee, or you can just drop us a tweet if you just want to sort of like ask for feedback or ask questions and stuff like that. So that's at PHP FIG on Twitter.
Great. Thank you so much for the interview.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, and I'll see you around at the conference. So thanks.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so now we're with Tess. Tess, famously known for his work at PHP Benelux, for example, and famously other things. So Tess, how are you enjoying phpUK?
I've put it on my list, so there's a couple of conferences I try to do on a regular basis, and I put phpUK up there because I like the organization. They're sitting right behind me. I like the fact that it's in London, because London is my favorite city in the world. I love it because it attracts lots of people, and I love it because the venue is great, and it's, as a speaker, this is a treat. Like, we're in the speaker's room right now, the catering is brilliant, so this is definitely a place I'd like to go. And I also love the UK crowds, so whenever I can speak in front of a UK crowd, I feel that vibe, and it feels good. So great. That's why I put it on my list, and I've come here numerous times. As a speaker, I think it's my 4th or 5th May, I'm not really sure as a speaker, but I've come as an attendee as well. When it was at the Hammersmith Olympia, when it was at the Islington Business Design Center, and now here in the city.
Which is your favorite one?
This one.
So your talk, I've heard some great things about it.
Have you?
I personally haven't had, I didn't attend it, which
that's
I'm totally sorry about that.
That's alright.
So yeah, I've heard some cool things about it. So how do you feel about it yourself?
Yeah, I felt kind of good because it's technology that is a bit hype sensitive, right? Terraform, Ansible, Packer. It's primarily about how to use Terraform to orchestrate cloud environments. I'm using Ansible and Packer as utility tools, but it went well, and I explained how you could set up vendor-agnostic cloud environments using simple configuration and using a tool like Terraform to orchestrate it in the cloud. I had a lot of fun, and it's definitely a talk I will do in the future again, because in a couple of weeks I'm doing the same one in Montreal at Kung Fu, Canada.
Oh, great.
I think Hannes will be there as well. So,
great.
So it's the same talk. I think I have 15 to 20 minutes less to present it in, so I need to figure out where to cut some corners.
Or just ignore it and go with it until they kick you out or something.
Maybe.
Okay, so you're doing your own vlog thing?
Yes. I've brought lots of gear. I have stabilized GoPro. I have DSLR, and every time, like I've been doing this for 2 years now. Every time I go to an event that's worth vlogging about, I make a travel vlog, and I combine the traveling aspect, like how I get there, which hotels I pick, also the food I get, the vibe in the city, and I combine it with why I'm here, why I'm speaking, how I experience it, the people I talk to, and it's good. Right. I don't get the viewers I do 2 kinds of vlogging. Okay. I do the tech vlogging and the travel vlogging, and then I do the football vlogging. And for the football vlogs, I get visitors up to sometimes even 60,000 views per video.
That's pretty impressive.
And then I do my tech stuff, and I have 200 views, and I have to get used to that.
Yeah, of course.
But if you don't like the process, like if you do it for the views, you're in it for the wrong reason. You have to do it for the process and the fact that you like it. And I still like it, and I think in the long run, it is a branding mechanism, it is a marketing mechanism.
Yeah, I assume so. Yeah. Okay, great. So I'll put a link in the description or like down here or something with some fancy editing, which I'll probably figure out on the go.
Are you publishing this on YouTube?
That's the idea. Yeah.
Well, then you can use YouTube cards. So the card will be up there.
So yeah. Okay, great. Tess, thank you so much for the interview.
Cheers.
And have a great conference.
Likewise.
Okay, cool. Thanks. So next to me now is Joe. It's one of the main organizer of PHP UK, which is obviously, as I said before, probably my favorite conference out there. So Joe, tell us about the organization. What were the biggest hurdles? What were the biggest pleasures of organizing this great conference?
Oh, well, not to sound like we're too great or anything, but we didn't really have any major issues this year. This is our 13th conference.
Congratulations.
So thanks. We've been doing it for a really long time. It's myself and Sam who organizes it, and Sam and I specifically have been both working on this since 2009. So this is personally our 10th conference, the two of us.
Nice.
So we kind of, we have it down pretty well, which is great. So also the venue, we've been here for 5 years. All the vendors, the AV, catering, everything, we've used the same for 5 years. So yeah, we had really limited issues in terms of bad stuff.
Can you give us maybe a scoop? So something must have gone wrong today, or is that really?
Were you just in the closing keynote?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So the closing keynote tonight was Gary Hawken, and at the beginning of his talk, his slides were flickering on the projector. Yeah. You saw that?
Yeah, me too.
And then you saw a few minutes later they stopped flickering for the rest of the talk. Yeah. So the AV crew basically fixed it in the middle. So there was a problem. I don't know if it was with the connection or with the laptop, but either way, the video was flickering and it was very distracting watching the talk. So what the AV crew ended up doing was the input from the laptop is different than the output that goes to the projector, so they can control those separately. So what they did is Gary would advance the slide, and they would see that, and they would take a still of it and then put it on the projector.
Really?
And and they did that for every single slide transition and every single slide.
Super impressive, but I bet nobody noticed that one.
I hope they didn't. I hope they just... The flickering stopped, and then they started enjoying the talk again instead of being distracted.
That's amazing.
And yeah, so there was a guy in the back, just every time Gary pressed the next button, just pushed a little button on the video receiver.
That's so cool, because like if you hadn't told me that, I don't think anyone would have noticed it. And of course, if this is the biggest problem you faced like today, that's pretty impressive for an organization like this size. It's amazing.
Thanks. So we have about 30 crew in the building. Between AV, catering, and conference staff, there's about 30 people. So that's what really keeps the event running smoothly. And in the rare occasion that something does go wrong, it gets fixed right away.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So how did you roll into this organizing and conference organizing thing?
Yeah, so I started in 2009. I had just moved to London, and I had started participating in the user group. Actually, it's kind of a funny story. I was at a conference in the States, and the closing keynote speaker did that really evil thing where he said, if you have, everybody stand up. If you have contributed to open source, code to an open source project, sit down. If you've contributed docs or tests, or you run a user group, and he went, and eventually everybody sits down until there's like 4 or 5 people standing, including me. And I was, at first I was so angry. I was like, how dare you call me out like that? And then I turned it around and I'm like, I've been a PHP developer for probably like 5 or 6 years now. I feel that I'm senior enough, accomplished enough, I should be able to contribute back to the community somehow. So then a few weeks later, I went to PHP London, the local monthly user group, and they were running elections. And they said, we really need a treasurer, somebody to help with all the money. And I'm like, I've run a couple of like small businesses, consulting stuff, whatever. I could do some paperwork, that's okay. So I decided to contribute to that. And little did I know that was going to like rope me into the whole conference. And then I started organizing the conference, and now 10 years later we're here.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. So do you think that's like a great way to start being engaged in the community? So it's like going to meetups, or?
Absolutely.
Because I've personally heard a few stories about people who are not really comfortable going to meetups because they think they're not senior enough and the technology level is too high, and they're kind of afraid to put themselves out there.
Yeah.
Do you have any tips for that, or?
Definitely don't be afraid. Every meetup I've ever been to has been just the friendliest bunch of people ever. If you don't have a meetup group local to where you live, there's tons of online communities as well that offer, you know, the same kind of resources of community and mentorship and knowledge sharing, online training materials, tons of things like that. A lot of meetups record their talks now and post them online as well. So there's just so many different avenues to go about being involved and learning more. So I highly advocate everybody does that. As soon as I started going to conferences and meetups and training and stuff, my career just like totally changed from like not just like a community, oh, love you, we all, you know, are friends or whatever, but the perspective of, I'm a better engineer. I make more money.
Yeah.
You know, because I've gained these skills, you know, doing community stuff, learning, going to meetups, and you know, forwarding myself in my career is going to have a lot of return for you. Personally, financially, career-wise, everything.
So yeah, get out there and join your community.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for
Thanks.
the interview.
Sure.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you.
This is the start of the second day. With me is Rob, who's famously known for Slim.
Hi.
He did a great talk about the Zen framework and the things you can do with it. So my obvious first question is, like, you invented Slim. Why did you give a Zen talk?
Okay, so we need to clear up a few misconceptions here. Firstly, I did not invent Slim. Slim has been around and was invented by Josh Lockhart, who is been around for a while. He wrote PHP the right way.com, which everyone should be looking at, and also he wrote a book for O'Reilly called Modern PHP, which again is a really good book on how to write PHP today. And he's the creator of Slim Framework. I am currently one of the lead developers of Slim Framework, but it is definitely not my framework, and all the props and all the credit does go to Josh, I think, and the other people who have contributed to that framework. I spoke about Zen Expressive today, as opposed to Zen Framework in general. Zen Expressive is a micro framework, and I'm self-employed. I work on a lot of projects for my clients because I don't get the say necessarily in what I'm going to be writing in. And I've been doing some expressive projects. I like it. It works really well for some particular class of projects, particularly the more rigorous enterprise type projects. I think expressive works quite well for them. I have other clients where Slim is a really good fit for them, and I can use Slim. It's quite a pragmatic framework, and that framework works really well for those clients. So I'm fairly agnostic towards particular frameworks. If I'm interested in it, I like to use it, and if there's something exciting about the framework, I want to talk about it. Particularly expressive, for instance. At the moment, we've got PSR 15 that's just been released. It's been certified, and expressive will be the first application with PSR 15 support. Cool. And that's good for the community. That's good for interoperability between different frameworks. So I was kind of want to highlight the fact that expressive has that, and this is the way of the future. And obviously we'll be bringing it to Slim with our version 4 release sometime this year.
Okay, great. So if people want to start to contribute to Slim, for example,
yeah,
what would be the easiest way to get rolling into the project?
As with a number of open source projects, Slim obviously is on GitHub, and if you go to our issue tracker, then you'll find tags like help wanted or easy pick, tags which are relatively easy blocks of work that we think contributors can make a start with. I think it's generally a good idea to mention on the ticket that's been opened that you're interested in working on it, because you'll find that the maintainers have got ideas, or whether they're going to accept it now, what sort of flavour they would like the fix to look like. Someone else might already have started to work on it, so you don't want to step on someone else's toes. So that's the best way to get into the code, I've found. For Slim in particular, and probably most open source projects, what we really appreciate is people who will review pull requests for us, people who will triage the issue lists and try to reproduce a bug that is on our issue list. Someone reports a bug, can you reproduce it for us? Create a smaller test case so that we can help fix it. Those, not necessarily code contributions, are really, really important to the project. Like documentation. We love it when people supply new documentation, or improve our documentation, put a fix in for it, or clarify some of the text that didn't make sense. You've used our docs, you found a problem with them, create a fix for it. That's really, really good.
You don't need to be like an expert in the project.
No,
you
not
can
at all.
just like jump in and do code reviews, even if you're not known in the community. Or
of course, if you look at a patch, you run it on your local system, you find some issues with it, or you find it works really well, let us know, because we can't see everything. More ice doesn't make it shallower work.
So, thanks Rob. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
And we'll see you like more in the PHP UK and the rest of the conference, and of course online.
I hope so.
Great. Thanks so much for the interview.
You're welcome.
Well, we're with James now. James is known for his reflection package. It's
yes, among other things, yeah.
And among other things, obviously. He's one of the consultants of Rove. You've probably heard of Rove before in the community. So, James, how are you enjoying PHP UK?
Yes, it's a great conference. I've come here for, I don't know, several years in a row now. And it's great, lots of nice people, you learn lots of cool stuff, and have a fun social after as well. So, of course.
What's the coolest talk you've seen in a...
I just saw Derek's PHP extensions talk, which is quite interesting. I knew most of it already, but it's always fun to watch Derek talk. He's a very knowledgeable person.
Definitely. Yeah, so in your community work as well, you ran a big conference, which sadly...
Not big, but...
Yes, still.
We ran PHP South Coast for 3 years. It was a lot of fun. Met a lot of people, learned a lot about the difficulties of organising conferences. Excuse me.
Bless you.
And yeah, it was just a really great experience, and bringing people together and sort of building that community was a very enjoyable experience for me. But I moved away, and there was other difficulties which we won't go into now.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
Yeah, it's that was a lot of fun, and also that spawned from doing the user group as well. PHP Hampshire was the user group I founded in 2011, I think it was. And then we joined up with the other user groups in the local area to make that conference happen, and called it PHP South Coast. So
great.
Kind of united us, if you like.
So you obviously met a lot of people through your community work, which do you think you developed friendship? You develop friendships like with
Absolutely, yeah. Well, I've made lots of good business contacts, if you like, as well as lots of good friends, and I mean, there's so many people in the community that you meet are just really friendly, just really friendly people that are willing to give you the time of day, which I find reassuring. You can come along and find someone to help you with things and so on.
What would your best tip be for someone who's totally new to the community and wants to get in? What would be you think the easiest way to get involved with stuff?
Well, probably a couple of things. One of them is go to your nearest user group as often as you can. Obviously, maybe you can't make it every month, but you meet a lot of people through that, and they will encourage you to learn more and so on. And it's good, especially if you're working by yourself. it's good to have like a sounding board and discuss what you're working on. And also contributing to open source as well is, for me, has been an amazing way to learn lots of stuff.
How did you start with open source? What was like your big first project?
I honestly don't remember. Wow. I think shortly after we started PHP Hampshire, we made this tool called Go Deploy, which basically takes a Git repository and deploys it over FTP. Because at the company I was working at the time, we deployed by FTP, and I was like, we need to automate this. So we made this tool, made it in Zen Framework 1, open sourced it. The source code is still there, but it's deprecated. don't use FTP anymore.
Okay.
But I think that was probably my first actual project. Like, I did some other contributions maybe beforehand, but I don't remember what they are.
If you can give one tip to you as a junior starting out, what would it be?
Probably the open source thing. Honestly, like, I learned so much from getting code reviews from other people, and if you get the project with the right people, you'll learn a lot from submitting code and getting it reviewed and saying, oh, this is not so good, or this is great, or whatever. And it's a great learning experience. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to like send your code off and have it criticized. Is probably not the right word, but
something Marco.
But no, it was always a great learning experience for me, and I learned a lot from getting code reviews and things. Great.
Because it's a free way to get professional feedback on your code without running any risk.
Absolutely.
The only investment is your time, but if you like coding, then I guess that's more a hobby at that point.
Yeah.
So, okay. Thank you so much for the interview, James.
Oh,
and
thank you.
I hope you have a great PHP UK.
Yes, I'm still here enjoying it, so we got the rest of the day. So.
Great. So, hey, now we're with Jenny.
Hi.
Hey, Jenny did the opening keynote, which was amazing, I think.
Thank you.
Jenny's really into the community and stuff. She has a lot of experience with it and talks to like all user groups all over the world. So she's obviously the perfect person to talk to about running communities. So my first question, obviously, is a lot of people say that if there's no user group in your area, you should just create one, but that's obviously not as easy as just like going out there and create one. What do you think are the best steps to start and create your own community?
I would say the very first thing you should do is find someone else to do it with, at a minimum. Preferably not someone in your company, so someone from some other company, maybe someone that you like going out and having a coffee with, or a cup of tea with. Purely because that way the burden is over two people, and that way you're not just the only person in that community. It also means that if you get busy at work, then like with deadlines and stuff like that, someone else is a co-organizer who's not working at your company, and hopefully they are not so busy. So basically you can be like, hey friend, can you please just arrange next month, because I've got a tight deadline. And so you are sharing that burden. And so I think that is my number one tip. Do not do it on your own, and if you are doing it on your own, quickly try and find someone to help you with it.
Do you think going to companies and ask for rooms, or host them in pubs or cafes or something? What do you think is preferable?
I think the venue does matter, but I think what matters more is time and consistency. So I always recommend, generally most places in the world do meetups once a month, and try and pick the third Wednesday or the second Tuesday, and look at the calendar of the local tech scene in your area, because that's a big problem. So you don't want to clash with another tech event, no matter how much you think, but people wouldn't want to actually go to this event and that event. They're very different. There are people out there who do many different things, and you have no idea if they want to go to both. So ideally, don't clash with any other tech meetup. There are so many meetups though in the world that it's getting harder and harder, which is a good problem to have, I guess. In terms of venue, it depends. So it depends on your culture really, more than anything. Some places like the same venue all the time, and that has its pros because it means that as an attendee you know exactly when and where every month, and you also know exactly where it's going to be because it's in the same place all the time and it's during the same day every month, so it's consistency and it creates a habit. So what you're doing is creating habits for your attendees to be like, oh, actually it's the second Tuesday of the month, I should be at this event. Oh, and I'm not even going to look at where it's going to be because it's always in the same place, so we can just move there straight away. And they know exactly how to get there because going new places is, in your head, actually quite a lot of effort. You have to remember, oh, I need to take this street and that street. So if you're moving from location to location, then it can get quite annoying because you have to check what transportation, you don't get into the habit of which bus you need to get, and those things are just effort, and after work especially, for me at least, it's too much effort. But saying that, company offices are great because they're usually free, and it means that it's easy to organize. Now, what would be great is an idea of like a company office that you can use every month. But obviously availability, whether someone's going to stay around, is not always the case. So, that's not always going to be available to you. The other thing to think about is if you are always at the same company, it can feel like the user group belongs to that company.
Is that
because,
an
well, it just means that like people have assumptions about like always being in that place, especially if it's like a PHP house and it's a PHP thing, so it's like their thing. And especially with community events, you want to try and encourage creativity and you want to encourage people to get involved. If they say, oh, this company's always doing everything, then actually why should they get involved? Why should they try and help? Which is why usually what I see when a user group moves from goes to a company office, they will rotate every month to a different office, or even every 2 months, or even every 3 months. So it's only 4 rotations to different offices, throughout the year. Ultimately, it depends on your situation as an organizer and what is available to you. Sometimes you'll have places where the company will want to sponsor you by giving you a free venue, and also they will want to give you, because the user group is going to that office, they'll also give you free food and drink and stuff, which is really nice. It's really cool.
Is it required, do you feel? Do you feel like, what's the minimal viable meetup like?
Minimum viable meetup would be, in my opinion, a set time, location, people turning up, that's it.
And a talk, I assume?
No.
Just a social then?
Yeah, I mean, like, for me, meetups are very much almost like group therapy. Where else in the world can you find free therapy where after you've had a 30-minute break of a bug or issue at work, you can complain to somebody else for free? Like, I honestly can't think of anywhere else. And like, definitely. Especially when you like miss a semicolon and you're really angry with yourself, no one else understands except for your fellow coders, which is, us, right? So that's, I feel like even just hanging out together, because we are joined together by PHP and the work we do, you end up talking about PHP because that's our shared interest.
Yeah, definitely.
And for me, user groups are all about building like relationships with other people in our profession and supporting each other. And so, yes, talks are great, and it definitely increases numbers in terms of being able to get knowledge sharing and circulation. But it shouldn't be the be-all and end-all of a user group, especially when you're small and you're just trying to get going. So if you're on your very, very first user group, the very first meetup I would suggest is bring post-it notes, pens, and ask people to write down the things they want to learn and talk about them, so that you can kind of get an idea if there's anyone in the group that could start talking about it, and then use those topics that people have suggested that they want to learn about to actually try and find people who like could give some information on it. They don't have to be an expert. It's just more like, hey, this is my experience of working with Magento, but I never really worked with Magento, and these are the things I learned on the way. Because ultimately what you're trying to do is saying, these are the things which I found hard, and these are the things I found good or easy. And so someone else can think, okay, if I'm doing a e-commerce site, do I want to use Magento, considering this is what they learned? And at least if somebody else knows where the hard things were, they are prepared for it, which is nice. I like to be prepared for hard things, right?
Makes sense, yeah.
Because you know when then, okay, I need to study a bit more on this section because this is a bit harder for me. And it makes it less scary too.
So you can just like actually go to a pub with a few people, get the word out, and just meet up in a pub and like talk about technology, right?
Definitely.
So how do you get the word out?
So in the UK, meetup.com is very, very popular.
But also very expensive.
Yeah, it's like $15 a month. Although they do have a cheaper plan if you have less than 50 members. But once you're past 50 members, it's more expensive. So I think, if I remember correctly, it was like $9.99, so $10 US dollars for 1 month for 50 people. But then once you get past that, it's more expensive. Yeah, so I think like. Yeah, it's like meetup.com. I mean, you can always cancel the subscription if you like don't want to do it at all afterwards. Twitter is a good place to then like, you know, get an account and like tweet out and see if you know friends, tweet at like local PHP houses and ask them to like tell people. I mean, that's exactly how PHP Berkshire started off. It was a bunch of people in the pub and going, oh, there's actually PHP developers in this town. That's amazing. I'm not the only person.
Yeah, great. So I think like the talk is almost starting or something. So we kind of have to finish here. So Jenny, thank you so much for the conversation. You. And
thanks for having me.
Any last tips for anyone who wants to start?
Yeah, so there's a phpUK website which has a Slack workspace as well, and they have a auto invite on the php.ug website, and also php.net. I didn't know this. James Tickham mentioned it. php.net has a user group section wiki which has very basic information about how to start up a meetup. I'm going to get access to it and start writing more stuff on there, but also other communities have great resources. For example, I'm part of the WordPress community, and the WordPress community has a whole meetup handbook about how to organize meetups and things to think about. Obviously, it's for the WordPress community and the kind of things that WordPress has. But check out like the WordPress community, Drupal community, whatever community you're part of, and see what other documentation there is out there. But I'm hoping with all the other user group organizers around the world, we could like improve the php.net documentation as well. So there you go. Watch your space.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, thank you so much, Jenny.
All right.
So yeah, I'm with Morten now. Morten is one of our Scandinavian heroes. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, Morten?
Yeah, hi. I'm Morten. I'm from Kristiansand in Norway. I work in a little company called Profundo, and we do a Symfony application. And on side projects, I'll usually use Laravel. And being here at PHP conference in UK for the 4th time, and when the first time I was here, I understand that everybody was using was going to a user conference, going to a meetup. So I started a user group back home after that. So that's really cool.
So can you talk a bit about the user group itself and how big is it, like the members?
We have about roughly about 70 users, members, and regularly we meet up like 10 to 15 persons, and it's about what we do for work. So everything is about experience with what we use and sharing.
Great. So what were your favorite? No, this is obviously just after the last session. Well, what were your favorite talks you've seen? What's really stuck out?
Oh, that's a tough one. Both the Lumen and the Symfony Flex was really good for me. Yeah.
Don't forget, if you're watching at home, phpUK is pretty awesome in its regard that they upload all of their talks after the conference free online. If they're online already, I'll link it somewhere on the screen. Otherwise, yeah, you can just find it with in the YouTube searching for phpUK. So yeah, what are the plans for the rest of the evening?
I don't know. Food, hangout. Yeah.
Guess we do some food and some hangout. Okay, great. See you. Thank you, Morten, for the interview.
this is the point at the conference that we're actually going to do the real conference. Welcome to the 2018 Mario Kart PHP UK competition. So let me first introduce all the members here.
Hello.
Okay. Hey. That team is kinda fucked because they have Freek on it, so. So, okay, and the next video will probably be me gloating over those guys because I won everything, so.
Yeah. If you jump and you turn, then you can make slides.
Okay. So this was the first edition of the PHP UK team battle event. We did really great, I think. Yeah, we gave it all our best. And maybe we should interview one of the other players. Marcel, how did you enjoy the first edition of the...
I got second, so...
Second. That's really good. That's really nice.
That's first loser, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's really good.
Guys, people are waiting.